It's okay. We're good. Okay, yeah, we're recording, so we're good. We have everything we need. Okay, Tzarayim Tov, happy Tu B'Shvat to everybody. I'm sorry, last night we recorded the Rebbitzins Tu B'Shvat class and my Tu B'Shvat class. The Rebbitzins came out perfectly. My part, for some reason, the audio, I came out beautifully in video, but no audio came out. So I'm sorry. Guess it was not meant to be shared with the broader public. But God willing, today we're going to finish the section on Beetle, which is very relevant to this week's Parsha and to Tu B'Shvat. And there's a couple extra minutes, but we'll throw in, we'll teach something about Tu B'Shvat as well. We'll see how it goes. We're discussing in the third and final chapter all the benefits of Beetle. And we've already discussed 6 and a few more to go. We're on page Ayin Gimel, the right-hand side of the page by Zion. The next benefit is subsection, Rak al yidei Beetle efshel l'taken hasamidus. You can only repair faulty character through Beetle. Tzarich ladas, a person needs to know, shekol zman she'einanu mevatl mesatzmeinu l'Hashem yisbarach. As long as we do not nullify ourselves before Hashem, ein anu yachol l'taken hasapagam shel sinas chinam. We cannot repair the blemish of baseless hatred. V'liskos lios b'kusharim u'b'klarim l'chol echem Yisrael. And we will not be able to merit yet to be bound and connected to each and every Jew. Why? Kilalo Beetle Amiti, without true Beetle to Hashem, we're not able to conduct ourselves the way Hashem wants. And what does Hashem want? To love another person like himself, mamish. To give everybody honor. Well, you can't do that because your somethingness gets in the way of that. What do you mean to love him like myself? That's going to diminish who I am. Yeah, but if you have real bittul and you know that you're really nothing, if you're just a kli, so why can't you enable the other person to be a kli? What does one kli have to do with another? Only until you pass by all the levels of Beetle to Hashem, until you understand that the entire creation, the reality of a created being, is just to be a utensil for the light of Hashem. Only then can you act with proper midos. To nullify himself before each and every Jew. You cannot come to love other Jews until you merit Beetle. Which means it's all Hashem. They're all nullified in the same way. And they're all incorporated in him. Mitzad Sheni on the other hand. Okay, it's all one big nothing. I'm just the kli. He's just the kli. We have the same job to do, and my job doesn't conflict with his, and his doesn't conflict with mine. Right? You're planning on doing something for Hashem. I'm planning on doing something for Hashem. Maybe we have different ideas. Well, if there's any conflict, what's the first thing you do? Let's say, where does a lot of sinas chinam come from? We have different ideas of what Hashem wants. You know, look at the pandemic. Different rabbis, totally different ideas. Totally different ideas. Right? One group is trying to keep people away from shul as much as possible. Another group, and from schools as well. Another group is trying to get people as much as helpfully possible to be able to get them. So the question is, what are you supposed to do? Take sides? That can cause all kinds of sinas chinam. I think I know what Hashem wants. The other one thinks, I think I know what Hashem wants. Guess what? You ask a bigger rabbi. and let the bigger rabbi decide. And if you're willing to listen what the bigger rabbi says, that's because you have bittul. You say, well, no, only if the rabbi says what I want to hear, then I'll be bittul. That's not bittul. So two sides are conflicting. You have to see what does Das Torah have to say? Because Das Torah is the best we can get to understand what the Ratzon of Hashem is. And once you know what the Ratzon of Hashem is, usually most of the Sinas Chinam goes away. Even if somebody does something to hurt you that seems inexcusable, there is a process of going to a Beis Din, which is not meant merely to adjudicate and say this guy's got to compensate this guy, but their job is to create shalom. And you have to be mevatel yourself to their will, which is the will of Hashem. And once the will of Hashem is done, that's over. The story's over. Let's move on with life. This bearing of grudges is all because you think you're important and you can't let it go. That's the problem. But anyone who really serves his maker, leave the gospel. You got to check yourself every day. This is midos proper and straight. If he sees there's still a little bit of a blemish in his midos, if he sees his midos are a little bit faulty, that's the litmus test that he doesn't yet have true dveikus to Hashem. He doesn't have true bittul to Hashem. For further of that, go to my Monday night Parsha class that talks about freedom, and you'll have much more elaboration on that. And of course, this takes time. So you have to go level to level to level to nullify more and more until you become totally nullified. And you merit to have good midos. You won't be arrogant over other people. You won't separate from other people. You won't get angry at other people. All the midos. It all has to do with bittul, as we learned also on Friday from the Nesiva Shalom. All these classes are overlapping on each other. So that's another great benefit. You want to have good midos? Comes with bittul. Ches overlaps as well. Habitol matzo me'atzvos. Person who nullifies himself is saved from depression. That's subcategory 8 now. Sadness and laziness. And all means, all types of darkness and cloudiness. That pass over those who serve Hashem. It's because you haven't merited true dveikus that comes with bittul. Okay, but if you merit to grab and acquire this midah truly, that you nullify yourself truly to Hashem, you have consistent emunah, and everything is good for him. Because with the power of bittul, you're living in the reality that you're not doing anything. It's all Hashem is doing it. Also, Mashlin, he finishes it off. Because you're there when you know that v'chai, and you live, you live in that reality, not just to know, but you live that way. Even if you're not successful, you don't feel the light of Hashem, and there is darkness. He doesn't get too excited about it. You know Hashem will finish off the job. And that's what footnote Kaval further along says. What happens in times of darkness? What does the Yitzhar say to you? Yeah, you know, in the old days, you were really a good servant of Hashem. But now you're not worth nothing. You're full of blemishes, no perfection. You're a failure. Certainly, you know this is lies. But because the truth is, every moment, you can always nullify yourself before Hashem more and more. Like a child in the father's arms, or a little child nursing from a mother. You can see Hashem's not far away, even 1 minute. And this is what we talked about yesterday that unfortunately did not get totally, I don't want that one. That's the wrong one. I want this one. So let's stop the share and start a new share just for a moment. Rabbi Nachman talks a lot about the growth of trees. He talks how atzvus is a meter rama'od. It's Lukutei Maram 155. He says laziness is a very bad meter. Why does that come? I know machmas chasar amuna, because of a lack of amuna. If a person had really amuna, he'd believe that Hashem is right with him and listening to everything you do, listens to every prayer you make. You wouldn't feel your prayers are nothing to them. And you wouldn't have this sadness, this laziness, this sluggishness in prayer. You'd pray properly. It all comes because you lack amuna. And he gives the beautiful mashal, this ties into Tu B'Shvat. He says, if you take wheat and put it in good earth, it will grow very well. Nothing's going to stop it. Good, solid earth, good nutrients. It grows strong. The winds blow, it's not going to knock it down. You know why? He calls it as a koach hatzomeach, the koach hagodel. It has a power to sprout and a power to grow because of what's in the ground. Nothing can happen. But you put it in lousy ground, rocky terrain, then you're going to rot because you don't have the power to sprout and the power to grow. And now you can see man is the tree of the field. What is this power to grow in the human being? The emuna hi bechinas koach hagodol v'koach hatzomech. Emuna is that power to grow. That's what gives it to you. You know why? And this is, he's talking, is this kind of bittul. Why does it give you the power to grow? When you have emuna, nothing can damage him. He's not afraid of anybody. Even if something wrong happens, but he knows it's the Ratzon Hashem. If you have real emunah, what are you afraid to grow from? Who's stopping you? So this ability to grow, which comes from good nutrients below the ground, good fertile ground, which is something you don't see easily, that's this koach habitul, which enables us to do that. But if you're lacking the emunah, you don't have that power to grow, you rot, and that gives you the laziness and the depression. Why are you depressed? Because things aren't going right. Who says? Things are going right. If you think that you are the one who's making it happen, then right, things aren't going right. But if all you are is a vessel to show the light of Hashem, Hashem can decide if that's what you want to have or not. And he gets into all these other ideas of patience comes from this and a lot of other things. And I don't think I need any more from that. No, that's all. It's great stuff, but beyond. And then we touched on another thing from the Sefer Beis Yaakov in this week's Parsha, the story of Morrow. They came to the bitter waters, and the Beis Yaakov explains what were they bitter about. He said, just a few days earlier they sang the song at the sea, and they were singing like crazy. They really felt this is God. But then that simcha left them. That excitement left them. That power of growth left them. And they knew what they saw. They saw that, but that excitement wasn't there. It left them. Just didn't feel exciting anymore after a few days. And that was the bitterness that they had. And what Hashem was showing them is don't think when you accomplish a level, you're always there forever. You achieved a certain height in spirituality. You think it just stays with you automatically. I'm trying to show there's ups and downs. You have to keep working. There's no guarantees. You have a level that's going to be forever. So they're wondering, how come we're not excited anymore? So what does Hashem do? And therefore they're complaining. It's bitter. They want water. So what does Hashem do? He tells Moshe to take a bitter stick and throw it in the bitter water and make it sweet. What's Hashem telling them? He says, you know what? Everybody, although things appear to be bitter, can make bitter things sweet. You don't have to go far to do this. He says, you yourself can make the bitter sweet. Because the idea of the tree, and let's just look at a few lines. It's in Rashi's script, and I'll read it. He calls man she'ein adam yodea mehecha nilkach ha'ilan hazeh. The person doesn't know where the tree comes from. So you think you really have something. But the truth is, Hashem causes it to you that you could forget it. And therefore Hashem says the bitterness that you recognize, where's it rooted from? It's rooted from the tree. That very tree where everything's supposed to come from. It's rooted in a very good and lofty place because every tree has roots. And in those roots, there's nothing bad at all. In the roots, it's a perfect thing. But on the way to grow, sometimes things don't seem to go the way you want them. So Hashem says, take this bitter tree, but this tree has roots. Hashem says the beginning of the tree is a root. And look at the real root, where it really came from. Where does everything come from? What's the root of everything? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sweet. And therefore, Hashem is always teaching us. You don't have to find salvation somewhere else. Make the bitter sweet itself. Look at the root of everything. Where it all comes from. It's going to be sweet. And this is the secret of lahamtin mar b'mar, to sweeten the bitter with bitter. In other words, to say, to be happy, sha'ata ratzon Hashem yisbarach came. Now is the will of Hashem. Even if you're not excited, you should also after the will of Hashem, because that's the source of everything. He says his wish isn't you think it's always that you always have to want to serve Hashem. Look at the roots. The roots is Hashem only wants good for you and wants you to feel bound up with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The more the tree, if the tree realizes it's connected to the roots, so then you realize that's the same. There's no difference. And that which is bitter is just making it sweet for you. Because the source is only sweetness. So it's no way you can be bitter. So something isn't going right for you. You feel you're not succeeding in this. But that's the way Hashem wants you to serve him right now. And at the end of the day, you're not doing anything anyway. It's all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the power of growth. The power of growth, don't look at difficulties. Oh, it must be things aren't going right. What are you talking about? What's the source of that? The bitterness is sourced in something that's amazingly good. That's the whole idea, of this all science and all math is based on Torah. Can you imagine lahamtik mar b'mar, to take two bitter things and make sweet? Do you know any mathematical thing that works like that? Sure. Multiply two negatives by each other, you get a positive. Now go figure that one out. Go to a math scientist and tell them, can you explain how a -2 makes a +4? What's the lot? I mean, why would anybody think of that? I'm trying to understand, what is -2? What does -2 mean? 2 less?
Less than 0.
2 less than 0. So if I multiply 2 less and 2 less, I should have 4 less. But 4 positive. Doesn't work. Answer is, it's to sweeten the bitter with the bitter. Makes the positive. know what the bitter is? The bitter is the bitter now. And the other bitter is it's bitter for you to think that you're nothing. What's the bitterest thing for you to think about? That I don't accomplish anything. It's all Hashem. From the perspective that you think it's you, from the perspective that you think it's you, what's the most bitter feeling you could have? It's not me. No? So now you're suffering, you're bumbling away, all kinds of things are falling apart. Things are not working out. That's a negative, yeah? So what do you have to do? You have to multiply it by the negative. What's the other negative? You're the negative. You are the negative. You think you're somebody. You know what kind of -2 that is? Do you realize the truth is Hashem is everything? And for you to now do that, you know how bitter that's going to be? You know how bitter it is to say, no, Hashem is, I'm nothing. And to the degree that you've bungled things up, this for everything, not just finding bitter water. When you do Averis, you've done Averis, look what kind of filth you're in. So what do you got to do? You take after bitter, throw in the bitter into the bitter. The stick, what's the root? The stick is nothing. The stick comes from what? Roots that are good. Maybe the tree strayed from its roots, maybe, but it's meant to get back there. So the bitter reality of who you are times the bitter reality of what you've created. And the most bitter part is to say, it was my fault. And if I would only come back to Hashem, you know how bitter it is to give up your control of the world? That'll produce a positive result. It'll make that all the bad things you did are going to turn out amazingly good. And that's the point that we're learning about back in the Sefer over here. That bittul is, as we said, what was the subcategory called again? The bittul saves you from depression. It's exactly what it was. Depression. The waters are bitter. Wherever I drink, it's bitter. And because you're bitter. No, it's not possible. I'm great. I'm amazing. I'm independent. No, you're nothing. That's a bitter pill to swallow. If you can swallow that bitter pill, it'll make everything sweet. Be safe from sadness. Okay, let's get back to the share so I can finish it up. We should just about finish everything. Test number 9. No, it was a little bit more. But he says, Vadarab, the opposite. Who maybe Shekol Shvirs and Philos, all the breaking, all the fallings. Him Kadesh Yischaber Yiskashal Yisbarach, so he can reconnect to Hashem. The Yeser says Besros with greater strength. Realizing on my own I can't do anything. But they Shivatal Ratzon of Adal of Hashem Yisbarach by nullifying your wills and desires for Hashem. And therefore he says, B'shoshal Ola B'yer allows if you're not able to go on the king's highway, then Yamik Besocha Bittul Odvod, be more involved in bittul. There's extra Hashem is meir umasriach panav el v'chaleis. See how Hashem is really illuminating everything. Hashem hasn't moved away from you at all. This one rabbi once mentioned he was driving by in a southern area of the States. He saw a big sign for a church. And then he said, it's a classic line. He says, if you have found that you and God have moved farther apart, ask yourself who moved first. It's a great line. Everything is just a mirage. The Yetz is fooling you. It's like the king is missing. It's not the king is missing, but you're missing from the king. That's why things aren't working out. Things are not working out because Hashem wants them not to work out. But if you wouldn't be so hung up on they have to be the way I want them to be, then all of a sudden you're going to realize it's not bad at all. 9th benefit, Habitol matzel mehastaros. Bitol saves you from things being hidden. So let's say a thought of confusion comes into your life. I don't know what to do. I'm lost. I've lost my path in Yiddishkeit. Think more and deeply about the reality of Hashem and the unity principle of Hashem. She would stay white. I don't know why it goes blue. Now it's gray. And more foreign thoughts come, wrong thoughts. Arouse yourself. Come to recognize Hashem with more thoughts of holy thoughts. You should always be longing for Hashem and to enter into deep reflection of the light of the unity of Hashem. When you really look at the light of Hashem, you see that Hashem illuminates to this Jewish soul. Without any confusion, without any covering up. Hashem is really there. Allah says, I don't know where Hashem is. He's not with me. Focus on Hashem. You see, he's there the whole time. It's just an illusion. Even there's something that appears to be disturbing you and not allowing it to happen. Certainly happened in life. You lost your job. Someone's getting in a fight with you. It's not letting me happen. You have to reflect everything shining with Hashem's light. The opposite. Any confusion you have, that's also utensil. Even when a confusion, it's a utensil. To get closer to cleave to Hashem. You gotta realize all the setbacks are from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that itself should get you closer. Then you'll find there's no hiding. Hashem is not hiding. Hashem's right in the open. And anything that appears to be hiding, Hashem is creating that. So you're going to work harder to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If Hashem wants you to know Torah and you're having difficulty, you have to know He put the difficulty there. He wants you to overcome that difficulty. And then you're going to really appreciate even more what you have. And you'll grow much more. That's how we have to look at these challenges. They're great blessings. And finally, Yud, the last one. Habitul eitzel l'chol hatzaras. Bitul is the solution to all suffering that you have. Ikar ha'etzel lotzes mikol hatzaras yesh. The main point you want to get out of any tzaras that exists, bechlal v'frat in general or specific. If it's COVID in general, for the whole world, or your own problems because of COVID. He bittul, it's all bittul. Least them as an eye, close your eyes. And nullify yourself before Hashem. It's all Hashem. And after you that bittul, make big effort in learning Torah. Lasos klila or make a utensil to light up. Do good mitzvahs. Do things for Hashem. And if you're not going to work on Torah after the bittul, the Yisur is going to get worse. But if you're studying Torah with bittul, then everything's going to be fixed up. That's the whole idea. Because all the suffering is there to bring you to bittul, as we saw in this week's parsha. The Jews went to the place called Piachiros, the mouth of freedom. When was that? What was that? When Moshe told them backtrack 3 days. Go back to their idol, which really was to commit military suicide. You're begging power to come back. Now, if they think they're somebody, they'd say no. But they said, okay, that's what Hashem says. We will nullify our desires before Hashem. And Rashi says it's called Piachiros because at that moment they were free. Not 3 days later when the waters killed the Egyptians. No, they weren't free then. They were free when they were ready to do bittul. They were in a tzara. They had not yet totally been out from Egypt to do bittul. Now the Egyptians have pinned them against the Kriyas Yam Suf. What does Moshe say? Jump in. What are you, crazy? Bittul. The tzara will go away with bittul. You know why? Because the tzara came, there was no bittul. If you're not mavatal yourself to Hashem, then what are you subjecting yourself to? Nature, aren't you? If you don't believe that God is everything, then something's got to be something's got to be nature. And nature will make you a slave. You have no freedom because nature is what gets you in all kinds of trouble. That's where your tzaras come from because you believe in nature. If you start believing Hashem, that means I don't believe in nature. I believe Hashem is behind nature. And I'm avat myself to Hashem, then Hashem says, then you've learned the lesson. No need for any more suffering.
Or you believe in yourself.
Or yourself, it's the same problem. But the nature that the nature gave me. If you understand that Hashem gave you everything, then you're living under God's eye, not under nature's eye. Nothing bad comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you go away from Hashem, then nature does what it wants. And that's the solution. So Beetle really, we have to hope that the end result of all this COVID, and I don't think it's coincidental that we chose to learn this Sefer, we're learning about Beetle right now on the 15th of Shvat and finishing on Tu B'Shvat. 30 days before a Yontif, the halacha is you have to prepare for the Yontif. So what's the 30 days before the Yontif? Purim. 30 days before Purim, you have to prepare for Purim. How do you prepare for Purim? Purim is a great salvation, wasn't it? How do you do it? It's Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat, those wonderful fruits you eat, is because the tree was mavatal itself to Hashem. It nullified itself before Hashem. We have to know that things that appear bad are not. And you want to have a v'nahapachu, that everything should turn around. So 30 days in advance, we got to prepare for that. People are going to have to prepare. Are they going to come to a shul to hear the Megillah? Going to come to shul to hear Megillah if it's still COVID? We'll talk more about this tomorrow. I'll be tomorrow's Erev Shabbos drush. I don't want to give it all away. So shkayach everybody, we finish Bittul. Next week, we start our favorite topic, Gaiva, arrogance. Okay, have a good weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.